don't all of those bots that do that, they like scour the internet to try and improve their, you know, ability to mimic people? Don't they all just turn out to be racist? Like, that is legitimately a thing.
What's different in Twitch chat? They all hate Protoss, right?
Yeah, different. Yeah, exactly. That's actually a very good point. They just say the same thing. Anyways, top right. Yeah, it is a Protoss player. It's Hellraiser.
Bottom left, our Reds are Terran, currently representing Kaizi Gaming. It is Spirit.
I'm like afraid to use my mouse because chat.
Oh.
Yeah. Yes. I was gonna say, chat. You weren't listening to us talk about nothing. You know, of course. Oh, it's a one base build. But anyways, there is a new cat, different cat that has taken over my mouse. But this cat's a lot feistier. She's yelling at me, so I'm afraid to move the mouse.
It's okay. Just tap onto Niall's camera, and I'll, you know, if you need to know what the production tab says, just shout. I'll keep you updated.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, there is a engineering bay block, a one base factory. Well, I assume it's a factory expand. Spirit has been adding in quite aggressive options for his TVP, though. So, I mean, there's always a chance to go for also a proxy starport or something. Hellraiser is already thrown off.
Yep. Yeah, dropping that factory down just sets the tone already right. And obviously use double gas, so it just makes sense. But this is Spirit just saying, you know, I want to play my game rather than letting you play your game. You know, if you had anything fun planned or any sort of specific timing, now you have to play around the whole engineering bay. With the factory coming up before I expand him, very safe in case you wanted to be aggressive super quickly. It just gives him a great baseline to work on. I think we see players like Maru and Kyo do this a lot, and I think it's genuinely because they feel like, hey, if I'm the stronger player, this is just a build that gives me the best possible chance of safely getting to the next stage of the game.
That it does. Provides a little bit of aggression, but absolutely can be used defensively. Need be. There's always a chance that you go aggressive with this opener, though, and this is very aggressive. It's all 1-1-1 on one base. And then in your harassment, or actually potential game-ending damage, you get attacked. And it does potentially get awkward, but that's why the scouting still going on. Maybe a bunker necessary back in the main. We saw a little bit of wacky PVT, what was it, yesterday, the day before, with some Widow Mines defending some Zealot Adept harassment. And we could be seeing something kind of similar here now.
Yeah, no, it's potentially get really weird, especially when there's going to be very few units just on the map in general for the Spirit, right? It's going to be a Widow Mine drop, and then, well, really nothing else for a little while. So, yeah, has to be careful of potential cannons. He will get an armory down. That's expected with this build, so those Widow Mines are going to be cloaked up, of course. And just makes it that much more annoying to clear those out and to obviously be able to just get on with your day. And then it means that if you don't, you know, if you get behind on trying to clear these out, you really do have trouble if a second drop of Widow Mines comes across the map as well.
I'm really struggling to remember what exact matchup it was that this happened in. I just remember being very sad with Roddy. Protoss player was very close to dealing with it about as well as you could ever expect a Protoss to, and then just missed Widow Mine in the natural, killed 10 probes. So see if it works out the same way, because this really is a similar situation. We have the one base build, we have the Stargate response, which you know the drill at this point, guys. Like, it's supposed to deal well with this. If it finds the Widow Mines, it finds the medevac immediately. If it doesn't, and all the Widow Mines unload and get burrowed, then it gets complicated fast.
Yeah, it really does. We're going to see 4 Widow Mines, all of them unload. We're actually going to be able to target Phoenix here, right? And we're going to be able to blow a couple of them up. Oh, wow. So the Phoenix do not die. We're going to see an attempt to relocate a mine to the high ground that tries to force one more lift. I mean, that's nice because that's just an extra location. You probably have to revelate now as, he does lose one mine trying to move up the high ground, though. Still, I believe those are both a revelation away, although actually you have an observer on the way, so no need for the Oracle. That's, Hellraiser didn't realize that one, and now the Widow Mine's in the main base as well, and target firing. Oh no, it falls apart completely with that second medevac.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage. Quite unfortunate. Hellraiser was close to dealing with this. If that Widow Mine on the high ground didn't surprise him, then I think he would have responded to the main base probes faster, and then also would have had more Phoenix, and that's also a good thing. But instead, as it seems is usual, something goes very, very wrong, and the Protoss player is now the one that has to make a comeback happen. It just really does suck. Because Phoenix Robo should have dealt with this perfectly, and it didn't.
Yeah, the Observer gets splashed down as well, so that's just another kick in the teeth. Yeah, it's just that knock-on effect, right? Like you say, that Widowmine high ground surprised him, so he looks the wrong way just as the medevac flies in elsewhere. Widowmines now could blow up Adepts. They are going to get all the Adepts 5 probes. Last Widowmine, the high ground gets picked off at the very least, but I mean, these are great drops from Spirit, and he's just keeping Hellraiser behind, and finally he's building an army behind this with Marine, Cyclone, Viking. He may very well just push. He might not have to. GG is called, and Spirit goes up 1-0.
Hellraiser is not going to play that one out, and there is certainly something to be said about just cutting your losses and resetting, mentally, actually, which is the same discussion I had with Roddy a couple days ago. The Protoss player did end up playing it out, but, and on some people, playing it out and getting some of these kind of morale victories, if you will, the minor victories, is better for them. For other people, just saying, nope, I'm done, next game, is better for them. Yeah. So hopefully Hellraiser can wash his hands of that one.
I think it's one of those ones where you're like, everything just goes wrong so quickly that you can kind of just say, right, look, yeah, I messed up, obviously, and that's bad, but it all happened in like a 5-second window. If I can just not have that Phoenix fly over the Widowmine and look the wrong way, if I'm vigilant about keeping my eye on the minimap to check for the main base drop, to check for the next drop, I know I can deal with that. My Phoenix should be able to get on top of it. I lift those mines, they never get burrowed, it's not an issue. So I feel like that is one where you can say to yourself, right, I see the problem. It's an easy solution. Just stay a bit more focused. Let's get into this next game. And that's why I think you want to just get into that next game, right? Like, you know what's gone wrong. You know it's almost an impossible fight back. Let's just get into the next one because you know straight up you can do better.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully. That really was one of the best builds to have. The Phoenix can lift the Widowmines, take out the medevac, and they don't get one shot, which is still kind of nice. And you have an observer. So the whole revelation there, revelation here, revelation there isn't your problem. You just bring the observer everywhere, right? It's supposed to be rather good, theoretically. But we say that a lot about Widowmine drops or even Hellion drops. Like, theoretically, it's great. Phoenix will find them and it'll be fine. And it just isn't. It just isn't for some people.
Yeah.
Seems Phoenix actually like Robo. A very strong build.
I feel like Phoenix Robo especially should be good. But yeah, I mean, it's when it's the one base commitment initially, it's always going to be a little bit tough, right? There's not really a super hard counter, otherwise it just wouldn't really be done. Anyways, let's dive into this game too. Have a look to see if the man in the bottom left can take this 1-0 lead and build it into a series victory today. It is Spirit from Kaizi Gaming.
In the top right is the blue Protoss. It is Hellraiser. No proxy? Or just the fast engineering bay block?
Yeah, I think probably an engineering bay block. I do just think he wants to do it repeatedly. Like I say, it just kind of takes away the Protoss kind of being or feeling like they're in control and getting to do their build. It's just the Terran kind of making things their own terms.
That it does. Hellraiser. Let's see, what would actually be really annoying for this to hold against? If it was a proxy barracks, and again, funnily enough, a cannon rush, but no one does that. If it's full on 1-1-1 in the main, yeah, even if you proxy gated or something like that, like 2-gate opener, it would complicate things, but the idea would be that the Terran could maybe still see it coming. Their SCV can be used to scout in the main, say like, okay, something's up, and then get a bunker back at home and a Cyclone instead of the Widowmines, right? So, I mean, technically all things, done perfectly on the side of the Terran anyways. This really is a safe build that then goes into a very aggressive build. But it's not going to be the one base this time around. So there's that.
No. Yeah, I mean, that's the nice part of this as well. You can just switch it up. You can do things a little bit differently. This probe was sticking around, was trying to see maybe if it was going to be a Marine popping out or if it's going to be built long enough for a Reaper. And seems to be content that it's going to be a Reaper. So probe gets away and it's going to try and hide down that bottom side. Maybe there's going to be something sneaky over there, or he just wants to get back in, avoiding the Reaper, but runs in at the wrong time and won't gain any further info because obviously he'd already at this point assumed it wasn't.
Yeah, I'm actually a little surprised that he did that. I would say like 210 or 215 is usually a much safer time, unless the Protoss is keeping the Reaper at home for the probe, which you don't necessarily have to do if you're going to follow up with Marine, which a lot of Terrans do. Either follow up Marine or, well, actually even Marine first. So, anyways, you don't get that freebie scout into the main, but it is what it is. Continue on playing your Protoss life. Get the Adept across the map. Hopefully you don't take any probe damage at home.
Oh.
2 is already not great.
2 and, oh, okay. Doesn't quite get the extra shot for that one. That would have been number 3, and that would have been really nasty, so... Reaper does go down at least, so the scouting is now limited as the SCVs are having a bit of fun trying to deal with this Stalker in the bunker. And that is delaying the command center, so there is definitely a benefit here from Hellraiser. He's getting a fair amount out of this.
Yeah, Stalker being run across the map that fast might have been a little bit of a surprise, but Spirit was getting a bunker, so playing very safe Terran. What Spirit doesn't know is that it's a robo. So the Reaper got in there, it's razzle-dazzled, micro, got a couple of probes, awesome. Didn't actually scout, so the robo came down after, first of all, but there's always that chance that maybe the technology was elsewhere. The Hellion would see that it's not in the natural, and then that would, I think, be the biggest red flag, but it looks like it's already a bit of a red flag. Because that robo came down, I think when Spirit had like 70 gas, so I think it was very intentional, like, you know, hopefully he doesn't know what I'm doing, the Reaper will die. And so, yeah, it can be suspicious for the Terran. Obviously, they're a little worried about something a little more fatal, like a Dark Shrine or something like that, than a 2-base Colossus drop. I mean, close to a Disruptor drop.
Yeah, I'd be behind something like that, as we do just see this Hellion getting taken down. 3 SCVs dead across the map, and it's a Prism to start out with, which you kind of needed to be no matter what, because you want some kind of pressure on the map. So Prism will come through, and we'll see what follows up on the Robo Bay.
Interesting. Hellraiser's going to grab a cannon this quickly, so doesn't want to really have the headache of dealing with the Widowmine drop, which, you know, it does help. Now you only have to focus on one base, so the one's pretty much covered, and then maybe you can even focus on your micro as well, which you do have that Colossus being pumped out, so a Colossus drop. We sometimes have the War Prism speed, in fact, often War Prism speed with this, but Spirit doesn't have the cash quite yet. There it is.
It is going to be that War Prism speed, and that just makes sense. I think if you're going to play like a fast Colossus style, you pretty much may as well just play into a Colossus drop, right? Because what else are you really going to do anyway? Yeah, I mean, it's good. It gives you a bit of map control. I mean, it's only bad if you use the Colossus and the Prism, right? But that's what that Prism speed is meant to really aid you with not having happened, so...
Yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, War Prism harassment is better than nothing. It's better than just staying at home and playing a super safe, but also super basic, let's go with that word, style of Protoss play. It usually doesn't add too much more. I mean, the reason this is not the common build, and I would say that it's twofold. One, people got better with dealing with the actual harassment, and then 2, people still take the victory after the War Prism harassment is done. And Raven, this cannon's not done.
God.
The probes!
No.
So that reach almost destroyed Hellraiser.
I actually almost feel like reaching across there did less than just hitting the probes that were nearby. That building cannon just clumped everything up, as the Colossus, though, will get some damage done. And this is where that Viking to just zone that Prism out already would be amazing. It's the Cyclone as well. They're looking for it. And if it stuck around, that Prism might have been dead. So it's nice that Hellraiser kept that moving and does get himself, now, out of trouble.
Hellraiser's going to go right in the charge, and it looks like he's going to get away with this. This is a very direct engagement type of army. It's not going to have a lot of map control aside from the War Prism harassment, and it's not going to have a lot of mobility. It's not really going to... Well, actually, there's a chance that he moves out with a +1 and actually bullies Spirit with this army. But the point is, it's not really usually thinking ahead. It's not thinking against maybe some other portions of TVP where the Terran's dropping every which way, right? You have no anti-air. So there's definitely a weakness to this style of play. But I wonder if Spirit's going to pick up on it. Because, he knows the Colossus is here, clearly. But as far as whether it's Charge or Blink following this up, can change the way that he plays this out. Spirit is no stranger to just macroing, though, if there's ever doubt. Just macro, defend. Yeah, he was doing this a lot against Zerg, too, where it's just like, he didn't necessarily have to worry about dying, but he still put bunkers down.
Yeah. Just play safe. Just be careful. feel like Spirits, I mean, the thing is for Spirits, like, well, you know, if I put these bunkers down, if nothing else, I get to the late game. You know what? Spirit loves the late game, right? He's a big fan of that, so he's just really wanting to make sure he doesn't die. Gonna keep on harassing, gonna be fairly active. I mean, the Raven comes in, we'll get a probe or two before it gets cannon down. Actually gonna see the second order turret going down here, and actually ends up putting some damage onto the cannon, of all things, and that actually will get kind of low, as it actually does die. Wow, so the cannon is gone, and that means maybe more order turrets there could be big. Of course, the Raven is missing from this fight across the map. This is mostly Zealot into a Sim City of bunkers. You gotta imagine this isn't so good, but does Spirit have enough damage output to deal with Zealots easily? Perhaps not. Second and third bunker on that high ground should be the hold, though.
Tank on the very high ground as well, and the Viking shooting away the Colossus and or the War Prism. I do believe is going to be a hold. I think Spirit, he really figured out what it was going to be pretty quickly with the help of that harassment / scouting. I think the lack of gases, maybe even saw the tail end of a couple of Zealots, more so than Stalkers, and he knew that defensive mind would work out. I mean, Hellraiser could have seen this setup and decided no go, you know, pulled back, but as much as that could have been a catastrophe, it kind of at least gets that third base up, not mining, and Hellraiser wasn't totally all in on the idea. He has a Templar Archives, I think. Fourth base is on the way only just now, so that's not super great, but getting Blink and at least +1 armor, so I mean, I don't think it was enough, but at least Spirit had to take it seriously.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be seeing the couple HGs coming through as well. They're going to morph into an Archon, but this drop on the other side going to immediately force the recall. Well, this should just be a lift into the main base, as obviously that's the natural next step, and there is no Blink ready just yet, so this little drop has potential to do a lot. We will drop onto a cannon. That's okay, we can get rid of that quickly. The Zealots are going to run into a choke, and then we just probably lift and move back into a different base. This gives Spirit a chance to get the rest of his army onto the map, and that's exactly what he's going to try and do, and that just means the multi-prong is basically just now starting.
It is just starting. Hellraiser's going to have a lot of trouble with this. Yes, Blink is done, but he doesn't really have a lot of units to work with, right? He's trying to kind of build up after that dedication to a bunch of charge lots, so getting the bases, getting the gases, getting some Archons, and hasn't really just invested into, you know, 30, 40 Zealots that can be spread around very easily. Absolutely not. So Spirit, you know, as long as he doesn't miscontrol, really, as long as he's able to identify when he'll win, when he can escape, I mean, there's not really going to be a lot of punishment here for whatever Spirit decides to do. Harass, drop, run around the map. Like, Hellraiser, yeah, he has Blink, but how many Stalkers? 6? And again, it's hitting at that right time. Hellraiser was not ready to defend a lot of different attacks.
Yep, I mean, this one on the third base gets a few probes. There's a fourth base he can drop on as well. Actually, he just scanned that. He is dealing with the Zealot aggression on his own base as well, and that's big. And now he runs into the natural with the larger force. This should do pretty well against the few Zealots that are here, and even the Stalker shouldn't do too much. I mean, extra units warping in might eventually hold this, but there's already 16 dead probes. Finally, here come the tech units to try and save this, but Spirit just lifts, he leaves. Don't get me wrong, Hellraiser is absolutely hanging on in there. He's making something of this, but it just feels like each of these attacks is a little bit better for Spirit overall than it is for Hellraiser.
Right. I don't think Hellraiser is completely dropping the ball here, which would have been really tempting under all this harassment, but he is struggling at every single point. He is taking just a little bit too much damage in 3, 4, 5 different engagements. So overall, he's starting to lose out. He's not really keeping up with pacing wise, so he's just trying to rebuild again, like a bigger army that can spread around and then build up his economy again. He's been probing throughout the entire portion of this harassment, so he's still at 62 probes, but he hasn't maybe added on more robo units, for instance, right? No second robo, no disruptors, no extended thermal lance. His upgrades only still on that one forge, even though he has a second, just hasn't gotten around to really being able to get that. So he's going to be out upgraded. Yeah, just Spirit finding that right striking moment to ensure that he doesn't let this game go. Because a worse Terran would have been like, oh, I'm kind of still scared, I won't do anything. And then Hellraiser has probably maybe even been ahead at that point if nothing had happened.
Yeah, no, it's, it was going to be my exact next point. It's like, when I look at the numbers and you're like, well, it's kind of even. Spirit not just throwing away units, but he's replacing them with ghosts and Vikings and upgrades. And Hellraiser, he just now started out on a few extra Archons again, but there's one Colossus on the map. It's just Zealots that keep on warping in, right? And those bulk up your army, but he needs more to be the main part of the army. And obviously adding in Archons as ghosts are coming onto the field isn't necessarily going to improve your chances here either. So, yeah, feels a little bit rough and tough still. We'll see if he can figure out a way to recover. This Raven was coming around the top side, doesn't get too much done as the decides this isn't worth it. Prism gets caught, so no more harassment on the side of Hellraiser for a few moments. And that's obviously nice for Spirit, knowing that he can just fully focus on being aggressive if that's truly what he wants to do.
Well, it is Spirit, so it's exhilarating as the quad drop or whatever it was at one point. It slowed down. It slowed down. Spirit is adding on a fusion core, starports, +1 ship weapons. Might just go ahead and add on some liberators, and hell, even wait for that +2 ship because that's also going to have 3/3 with it, and that would be the ultimate Terran army, an ultimate Terran push. You know, that Spirit does very well with it. And he usually still wins. I think in the past, there was a lot more Spirit games where he would get this really good game, and then he would be way too passive. Like, he's still one of the more late game, I think, like, comfortable Terrans, I suppose. But in the past, I think it actually lost him kind of more games than it should have. Now, he still loses a couple of games for being maybe a little bit too withdrawn at certain points. He's kind of figured it out. I think he's still going to win this game. Let's see if Hellraiser can find some weaknesses. He is starting to move out.
Yeah, he is going to be coming down the left side. They might just fall on base trade here, which, well, base trade could go any which way. Really depends on who deals with it better. We'll find out soon, as obviously both of them are striking somewhat external bases initially, although Hellraiser will be the faster play towards the production if he wants to be. As that Spirit obviously has a anti-armor missile on a few Zealots over there, as the Raven just about stays alive for now, and that could be big. You never know when that one Raven cast could swing everything further down the line, so maybe worth babysitting that a little bit. There is a Disruptor out from Hellraiser, and that's something which could be big, although Spirit's actually just going to dive into the main base on top of those Disruptors, and he is just going to play on this ramp, although the first Disruptor shot up the ramp is really good. Unfortunately, that's the only Disruptor shot that's coming in, but Zealot's warping in too, and Hellraiser, he's winning this fight.
Yeah, well, the thing is that there's still a lot of army to drop out of the medevacs, right? And they were dropping into shots, stalker shots, zealot swipes, whatever. So, you know, really a large portion of that engagement was not good. It just simply was not going to be good for Spirit. The main base has been broken. Spirit did, as soon as the base race was obvious, he did set up to a couple liberators. And if he had gotten 5 or 6, he might have been able to hold on to his main base. But as it is, it's going to be a tough game for both of them. They both are back at around a similar supply. Upgrade was 0.1 seconds away. Okay, that's flipping really crazy. Maybe the armor will still finish, though, so there's that.
I mean, that is something for sure. Hellraiser at this point just has the larger army, and that's obviously going to go a long way. Spirit is rebuilding the bottom right. We are going to recall his Hellraiser into the main, so Spirit needs to get out of here right now if he doesn't think this is a fight he can win. These Vikings actually getting lifted as the one tank here is going to try and make a stand. The Vikings will lift to fight that Colossus. That should go down pretty quickly. The Raven will drop a single order turret down just to soak a shot or so. It's mostly Stalkers here that are taking hits, and that tank is still delivering some shots as well, albeit a little bit friendly fire as well.
Right, yeah, towards the tail end there. That was not a great fight for Hellraiser either, though, right? He didn't have the charge lots and these Archons to kind of buffer for his Stalkers. The Colossus was probably a goner, but now we're getting a bit of a sandwich, so maybe it's going to turn well for Hellraiser. He's looking to finally get this win against Spirit, but Spirit, what has he got? He's got Spirit, guys. He's not going to give this one up too easily. He's got a couple extra bases. He is using all of that bank, I guess, during the kerfuffle. He couldn't really produce, so now he's trying to rebuild. It is a awkward base race, but one that looks like it will end in Hellraiser's favor.
Yeah, base race is probably the one thing that Spirit, I guess, didn't really want, because I really liked his position. You know, I really feel like with the Ghost out, the army of Hellraiser was just a bit dated. It was very Zealot and Archon heavy. It should have melted, but he never got the fight Spirit that he wanted because, well, they turned out to base trade, right? And he does have that bottom right corner. Spirit has a lot of money, and that's important because he's going to crank out 4 libs. And if he can just make a super defendable position, and Hellraiser can't attack into him, maybe Spirit can end up rebuilding here. Maybe that's going to be how this game turns out, because it's starting to happen. Those libs are rallying out from the main base.
Yeah.
And exciting, ZG.
Planetaries are hard to break when you're at a very low unit counts and, you know, gateway units too. It's not impossible. 14 Zealots, 2 Archons, 11 Stalkers could break a planetary, but it'd be a bit costly, and it's just not the same, you know, if you don't have Disruptors or even Immortals. That would really bust it down. So that's tough. Plus Liberators guarding it makes it pretty much impossible. So Spirit is going to get a reset here. Yeah, what a crazy game. You know, I've just been talking about how Spirit can sometimes just stay at home too long, and that's actually when he pushed out. It's cool that he pushed out, but it might have been, weirdly enough for Spirit, too soon, right? Like, there wasn't a particular timing he was necessarily hitting. Maybe the Liberator range was maybe one of the upgrades that was pretty devastating and was finishing up, but I think Hellraiser was absolutely expecting Spirit to be on the defensive and that he was going to start bullying him. And it wasn't his plan to base race, but he's probably a bit happy that it looks like it's working out okay. The Liberators might make him doubt his position, though.
Yeah, the libs just showing up. And the worst thing for Hellraiser, he's like, you've not had libs this entire time, so where have they come from? And that might suddenly mean that it dawns on him. He's like, oh god, you have mining? Really? After all of this? Yeah, I mean, that's rough as Spirit goes get back in the main. He's going to actually try and repair the planetary fortress sub. Anything you can do here, Spirit, just to keep a few extra, you know, shots going off on Zealots is generally nice. He'll end up losing a lot of SCVs, but he's got a fortress in the bottom right. The bottom right is where it really is all about. Planetary down there, the orbitals are down there. He's got his production back down there as well. So that's where, you know, Spirit's really going to be working around, as both of them are, well, having some worker losses here.
Yeah, a little bit. You know what? You mentioned that, like, Hellraiser's like, oh, no, he's got Liberators. It means he has mining. Where did the Liberators come from? Those two starports, did they lift and leave and come back, or they were just allowed to live?
I'm not sure, because
I'm not sure.
There was a few Zealots left behind, and while there was Zealots still in the main base, and they were already building the Liberators then, so not 100% sure exactly what went down, as a Liberator does die there. We're going to get some Libs coming up defensively now as the Zealots find the bottom right side. With Libs and a Planetary, I mean, this is what you're playing for, this base to be basically impenetrable. And for Hellraiser to say, damn, I've kind of got to attack into you because, you know, my rebuild right now is going to take way too long to get going. As he's actually making a dive on the top side, he's going to jump on the medevacs, and did Spirit stick around too long? He just about saves the bio. Obviously a shame to lose so many medevacs, but if he'd lost the bio as well, that might have just been game. Right,
absolutely. Just to finish our point, I do believe the starports came back because Hellraiser did have sight and there was nothing there. But yeah, that's that crazy, man. Kind of comes down to Liberators a lot of the time in these base races, kind of the two most powerful things for each race, I guess. One most powerful thing, Liberators for Terran, and I guess DTs for Protoss a lot of the time. Not in this particular game, never got to that point, but still, Liberators. That is what Spirit is putting a lot of his hopes on, is that I'll be able to rebuild a strong enough army to cover them as well. But it's kind of questionable. The Liberator count at 6. Currently only 2 right here, so I don't know where the other ones are. Oh, harassing.
The harassing, yeah. They're putting Hellraiser absolutely all in. Like, he's just not going to have an economy to realistically bounce back from this. I don't hate that. I think it's a decent move, and he's actually going to dive forward now. Of course, the power of this bio against the Archons is you can really kite and stay out of range. Spirit's going to get enough done.